Are you sick and tired of playing the same old Invoker builds? No worries. Introducing your new best friend, the crossbow.
Wow!
And with that crossbow, you're now playing one of the best mapper builds in the game, the explosive shot triple Herald rocket launcher build. And now, my friends, you're enjoying life again, with wide screen clears and a hot, gooey substance dripping down your leg. It farms the T15 maps no problemo. The only downside is the single target, where you simply swap to your M4 or 1 and burst the bosses down when needed, solving that as well. And why Invoker Monk, you may ask? Why not the Mercenary, which already carries crossbows from the get-go? Well, shit. Cussmerk is shit, and Monk is insane, that's why. Or well, not quite. But the Invoker has excellent ascendancy points that we can utilize and synergizes perfectly with what we're trying to accomplish. For example, Unbound Avatar. Seeing as we're rocking all of the elements at once, this thing is easily stackable for consistent uptime and a huge damage bonus. And considering the Invoker can also surpass elemental resistances and has easy access to defensives, it becomes the perfect option as ascendancy. Alright friends, to understand this build, we need to go straight for the planner and check what the hell is going on there. And a massive shout out to the excellent creator behind this build. You'll find a link in the description. And starting us right off, we have Unbound Avatar. As mentioned, it increases our damage and also increases the amount of ailments. Triggering it is done via elemental ailments themselves, for example, Shock or Ignite. And again, we're triggering all of them as we are using the 3 dragons, Solid Mask in combination with Explosive Shot, and our Heralds, easily igniting, freezing, and shocking all enemies. When it comes to Unbound Avatar in itself, we're slapping on Persistence for additional uptime. For our Explosive Shot, we're rocking Martial Tempo for attack speed, Scatter Shot for additional projectiles, and Conduction for additional shock. As Explosive Shot is a fire skill, and the 3 dragons transforms our fire damage into shock, Conduction will double the shock and give it to the next person, not only allowing us to keep Unbound Avatar up, but also shocking enemies for the additional damage and allowing for Herald of Thunder to be usable. And finally, Fire Penetration for the additional fire exposure and lightning exposure for the same reason. That is, for a fuckton of damage when we reduce the enemy's resistances. Alright, and we then have our second damage ability, Shock Burst Rounds, aka the M4A1 in this build. There's an easy trick to swap between your weapons and get this thing rolling without much effort. You'll then use it on bosses only, which in turn means we can use Concentrated Effect for additional single-target damage. We also have Primal Armament, Close Combat, which means you'll have to crawl up into your enemy's asshole before you start shooting for it to deal damage, fresh clip, and heft all for more big hecking damn. For even more damage, we're combining our skills with Emergency Reload to get an additional set of bullets. The cooldown on this thing is half a fucking decade, so we'll slap on the Ingenuity gems to reduce it and grab Premeditation for additional damage and Murderous Intent for culling strikes, aka an execute on low-life enemies. Alright, next up is Wind Dancer. Evasion? Yeah, why the hell not? Combine it with Blind and Maim, and you'll crowd control enemies instantly as they hit you, and Life Thief is there to spend some additional spirit and gain health back. For your Herald of Thunder, the lightning shocks will be converted into freeze. So here we're slapping on the Ice Bite support gem to buff our cold damage, along with Innovate for additional lightning damage. We also have Glaciation for even more freeze in combination with Lightning Penetration and Lightning Mastery for some big motherfucking damn. Now Herald of Ice will be your chain reaction skill, so this is where we'll grab the magnified effect to delete screens. The 3 dragons will in turn make it apply Ignite, so we're turning on the fire exposure here. And finally, Cold Penetration, Long Shot, and Cold Mastery for some additional damage. We then finish it off with the final 3 skills. Herald of Ash for additional damage in combination with Fire Mastery, Grim Feast, which is an excellent way of obtaining energy shield as it can overcharge us, granting double the shield. And we also have Clarity here for Mana Regen, but you can put it wherever the hell you want. And for the final skill, Overwhelming Presence is here to gain even easier elemental ailments and crowd control. Lovely, huh? Damn right. Finally, we're done with this shit. Let's check out the gear now before our brain melts. Starting us right off, we have the 3 Dragons helmet. This is the only item you need to start popping off with this build. Unfortunate for you, it's cheaper than subscribing to your local subathon po-hooker on Twitch, so just get that shit sorted. When it comes to the defensives, there's but one thing you don't want to fuck up, and that is Spirit. You don't need any on your gear, as we'll be rocking Lead Me Through Grace, and in turn, gain it from Energy Shield and Evasion. Both stats are highly valuable, so don't sleep on them and get them everywhere you can. You'll also get double the value from Evasion on your chest in the skill tree, so make sure to stack it up as high as possible there. Other than that though, it's your typical stats, so just check out the planner for the correct ones. And hopefully, you already have most of them. Get your resistances sorted and as much max life as possible in combination with some mana and movement speed. When it comes to the jewelry and weapons, however, there are a few things I have to mention. For starters, try to instill Catapult onto your amulet as it increases your AoE and projectile speed, making it a highly valuable passive. And on one of your rings, you're looking for an unset ring to gain 1 additional skill slot, as you'll need it to use all of the skills here. For your weapons, you're looking for something like this for your explosive shot. Loading an additional bolt is important here, making it less tedious to play, in combination with getting some mana leash to sustain, as explosive shot has some decent physical damage attached to it. For the other weapon, however, the only thing that matters is physical and lightning damage. You basically just want that shit to deal as much damage as possible. And that, my friends, is the gear. You know what time it is now? Damn right. It's about 1/4 sub a fucking clock to my channel right now, and you know it. And when you're done, we'll check out the passives making the build pop off. Alright, let's do it. The Invoker Ascendancy is just godly. For starters, we have Lead Me Through Grace, sorting out your spirit with ease, so you don't have to worry about the persistent gem skill spirit requirements. We then walk our way towards Unbound Avatar, which is just disgusting amounts of damage and ailment generation. Yummers. And finally, Sunder My Enemies, which makes your critical strikes pop off and ignore resistances. Nice, huh? Yep. For the passives, most nodes are the same for both weapons, but there are slight differences which you'll see here in the planner. In any way, we start by going after some damage in combination with Shock, Freeze, and a bunch of Energy, Shield, and Evasion. Next, we move down, grab some damage, and chance to blind, before heading down to grab Falcon Technique as to get some lovely attack speed, in combination with a buttload of defensives and Bestial Skin, which boosts your evasion on your chest. We also want coming Calamity, of course, especially considering we are rocking triple heralds, boosting our damage to the fucking moon via this node. We then fuck off to Uganda or whatever, pick up some evasion, and find ourselves at a purple pathway. And what the hell does that mean? Well, purple means shocking rounds. In other words, your single target setup. So for the single target, you're grabbing additional lightning damage nodes. Next, we hop on a plane and leave for Land of the Fatties, aka Marika, grab some damage nodes, and find ourselves at a green pathway. This is where you'll grab some shock to trigger your heralds via Explosive Shot, which, if you remember, triggers shock via the 3 Dragons helmet. You'll then chuck a UE, fuck off down to Narnia, and pick up some additional lightning nodes for shattered rounds, some additional attack speed and crossbow passives, and then a buttload of damage and attributes stacking via the lovely star down here. We then finish it all off with some additional AoE for our heralds when mapping, and that, my friends, is the build. Only thing left to do now is to get hecking good and learn how to play this lovely build. Let's do it. The mapping part of the build is easy peasy. You're basically just blasting all of your cooldowns when they're off, in combination with blasting off an experience and loot orgasm via your explosive shot. And with cooldowns, I'm talking about Unbound Avatar and Emergency Reload. The latter you can use whenever you want, and the former you'll stack it up to 100, press it, and enjoy your damage bonuses. With enough density in the map, you'll stack it up easy peasy. Now to the important stuff, bossing. With proper gear, shock burst rounds can deal roughly 1 million DPS without Avatar up, which is substantial indeed. You'll then simply do the quick weapon swap, which I'll show soon, pop your cooldowns and blow the guy up. When it comes to the actual weapon swapping, this is what you'll do. You'll automatically have 2 crossbow shots. You bind one of them to one of the mouse buttons or whatever you want to use for shooting, and the other crossbow shot on the other one. You then simply bind your load explosive shot on another button and load shattered rounds on the final one. You then just need to load up your weapons, and you will instantly swap between the weapons without having to do anything special, making the swap instant. Lovely, huh? Damn right. And in case you're struggling with any of the weapon swap stuff, I'll have a link to Palstron in the description, which created an explosive shot build for the Mercenary and Deadeye with these techs. Alright, per out.